coming to you live. It's In the Know with Mo. And now, here's your host, Mo Vella.
Hey everyone, welcome to In the Know with Mo. It's so good to have you all with me this week again. Thank you so much. I'm having so much fun bringing you all these amazing guests. We're all learning so much from each one of them, and I'm going to have another wonderful one for you today. But as we start every Thursday right here on the show, we start with the Moment of Truth, Moement. And this week's Moment of Truth, I'm a little bit more serious for some reason this week. It's LGBTQ, IZBW, every letter of the alphabet now that we have in the LGBTQ moniker, but it's LGBTQ Pride Month. And that's kind of what prompted my moment of truth this week. As I was pondering and reflecting on Pride Month, and anybody who knows me and anybody who's ever met me on my entire 59-year journey so far knows that I consider being gay one of the greatest gifts I could have ever received from God, the universe, Allah, the stars, Buddha, whoever it is you believe in. And I continue to believe that's the greatest gift. But one of the things I want to remind us all during this LGBTQ Pride Month is to be kind to one another, regardless of who the recipient of your love is, regardless of who the recipient of your kindness is. I just hope it's Pride Month for us this month. Maybe a good time for all of us to recommit to being kind to one another, to respect each other, to celebrate our differences, and to actually build on what we have in common, because what we have in common is far greater than any of our differences. So that's my moment of truth this week. Be kind. Let's love each other. And on that note, let me introduce John this week. Okay, this one's personal. This one's, I've gone local to have my new fitness trainer here in Los Angeles. Everyone knows I moved out to West Hollywood in Los Angeles. And of course, I decided to make some transformational changes, one of which is to recommit to a healthier lifestyle. And the first thing I decided to do was hire the best fitness trainer in Los Angeles, and he is my guest today, Jonnie King, who I'm just going to name him the president, CEO, and founder of King Fitness. I don't know what his title is. He is King Fitness, but Jonnie's so much more than that. He's also a DJ, a highly in-demand DJ at a very, very reputable and high-profile places. He's vegan. We're going to talk about that too, Jonnie. He trades in cryptocurrency. And he is actually a very successful sports card trading guru. And we're going to talk about all these things. But Jonnie, welcome to the show. Welcome to In the Know with Mo. I'm really thrilled you're here with me.
Thank you, Mo. Glad to be here. And that was a beautiful introduction that you gave, the whole thing about kindness and, treating each other well. It really, I think it puts that whole Pride Month into perspective, because I think a lot of people, you're celebrating, gay people and the whole community and everything, but it's nice to actually give some, meaning and definition to what that is. And, a lot of people just look at it as a big party celebration, but, it's good to remind people that, it's not just about fun celebrations, it's also about reflecting, looking in.
Absolutely.
Community. So it's beautiful. And I love your little introduction song too. Very fitting for you.
How about that? That's because I have the best producer. Thank you for that opportunity to plug my incredible producer, Mark Grimaldi, who I just love. And I consider him the best radio and podcast producer in America. And I am so lucky to have him. To Leslie Marshall, of course, I thank my beloved Leslie every week for giving this chubby, gay, bald Latino from South Texas a chance to have his own little show. My personal assistant, Dave Compton, who I couldn't do anything without. So to all three of them every week, I thank you, Jonnie, for giving me that segue to thank them again, because I can't do all this without them. So Jonnie, one of the things we do here, I warned you at our fitness training earlier this week. By the way, let's just get it out of here. We're going to start here. Let's get this out in the open. To my audience and all our listeners and viewers today and whenever they watch the show, I just want to tell you, I cuss out Jonnie every training session. And then when I'm eating an egg white omelet, I send Johnny a picture and I go, "What the F have you done to me, Johnny?" Is that true, Johnny? I send you pictures of my food.
It is true. It is true. Yeah, it's actually quite common with a lot of my clients too. But
And I
you
thought I was special.
no, I mean, I don't demand it of them, but I think they just do it by nature because they, obviously I tell them to do things on their own, and you want to hold yourself accountable for things. And I think when people send me photos of their food, stuff like that, it's just a way for people to assure me that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing outside of
Yeah.
our workout. So that's
And part of
yeah,
like, we're going to talk about this later, right? Because this whole
yeah,
concept of accountability. And
yeah,
so we're going to talk about that later in the show because I think that's a real important topic when we're talking about health and fitness and wellness, which is what we're going to kind of dwell on today. But we do this every week on In the Know with Mo. We go back and we say, we want to know who Jonnie King really is, right? Because I can start and we can just talk about health and fitness and wellness,
yeah.
right? But that's not going to tell us how did you become this fitness guru? What was your evolution? And it all starts in the same place for all of us. And to me, that's the first step toward equality is to say, Johnny is just like us. You started in Boston, Massachusetts. We're going to do the Boston thing here.
Yeah.
What neighborhood? Because the area or the neighborhood in Boston matters, right? I mean, that's kind of your
Yeah.
core system, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually lived a bunch of places in that Boston, North Shore area. I consider like my main development in, well, I'll say it how you're supposed to say it for Boston, Andover. And
Ah, Angela. Okay.
Andover, so that's kind of like my high school years where I really think that I found myself and really started to develop, as an adolescent. But yeah, I've lived in Middleton, Massachusetts as well, where my father still lives. My parents are divorced, so I kind of bounced around when I was younger. A lot of kids do that, when your parents get divorced, their
Yeah.
parents are moving because of jobs, whatnot, and that just so happened to happen to me. So,
How
uh,
did that affect you, by the way? Because this is a very, very common thing. I have a nephew who, also that my sister and her former husband divorced, and my second sister divorced. How did that impact you? Because I think there are lots of people listening who are either going through a divorce or are a child of a divorce, right? And how did that impact you? And has it left an impression on you now as an adult? You're about to get married.
yeah, yep.
By the way, to a woman, I want to be very clear here. Johnny is straight. I know because I have a lot of gay guests on too, right? But Johnny is straight. And I want to be clear because Johnny's fiance would probably not be real happy if we said
Oh,
anything otherwise, right,
she
Johnny?
doesn't care. She's totally open. We're accepting of all. We've
But
plenty of
Johnny,
gay friends.
on a serious note, how did that going back and forth? Do you remember what impact that had on you?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely tough as a kid. When you're young, you're just like a piece of Play-Doh and very malleable. And going from school to school, and you're still trying to develop who your own identity is, and living with different parents. And I'm not gonna lie, I guess you could call me a problem child when I was growing up.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I definitely did get into my fair share of trouble as a kid, but kids do that to like revolt against their parents, and
Absolutely.
it's very common. You don't really know until until you look back on it, and one of the biggest things I'm really big in personal development and reading into all that, and I was a psychology minor in college, but I've done various personal development type programs and stuff to help me kind of discover who I was. And I think a lot of that came from, me being a child of divorce. But I did Landmark. Have you ever heard of Landmark before?
No, no,
Uh,
what is that?
it's a huge program. I think it's the biggest personal development program in the country, or maybe even the world. I think they are
Oh,
worldwide,
wonderful.
actually. Um, there's other ones too. I think there's one called like MIT. There's several like other big ones, but this is like the biggest one.
Yeah.
They really I did like a weekend long seminar. It was like, I don't know, 12 hours a day sort of thing, and you're just like glued in this auditorium, and you're just really like digging into what made you who you are, just going back to like the very basics of who you were,
Wow.
And you discover that these like little incidents that happened, if your parents yelling at you as a child or
Yeah.
something, or if something like some traumatic event, I mean, it could just be one traumatic event in
Yeah.
your childhood that literally just like that changes your whole life. And then you have
Yeah.
this complex of like, oh, I shouldn't do that because I'll get yelled at for, doing something else,
Yeah. And
so
it manifests itself in so many different
yeah,
ways. But we're going to our first break.
Yep.
To our viewers and listeners, you clearly know you've got to come back now, right? Because we are like, this is exactly what I wanted to do with Jonnie. We love discovering these types of things because Jonnie, we can all relate, right?
Yep.
So please stay with us. We'll be right back with Jonnie King, the president and CEO of King Fitness, my personal trainer.
Here's a thought-provoking bumper sticker. The system is fixed. We must break it.
Nice.
This thought came into vivid focus recently when a news report by ProPublica
Right? Because
revealed that
I
a
keep
nest
it
of
real,
preening
you know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna
multi-billionaires,
grab some
led by
coffee.
the
I'll be right
likes
back.
of Jeff
How long's the
Bezos,
commercial break
Elon
for?
Musk, and Michael Bloomberg, have been
Okay,
playing
cool.
America's rigged tax system to dodge paying their share of upkeep for
Just
the
don't
society
engage in
that
a
so
Jeff
lavishly
Toobin.
enriches
Do you know what
them.
that means?
In
I
a
do
leak
not
of
know.
actual
Okay,
IRS
Jeff Toobin
data,
is the
the 25
legal
richest
analyst
Americans
at
were
CNN,
exposed for
Yep.
who
using
was
tricks
on
and
a call
loopholes
with
to
the
pay
New
barely
Yorker
3% of their enormous
4
riches
months
to our
ago,
public
and he
treasury,
thought his
while
camera was
ordinary
off, and
working
he was,
people shell out about
Oh my
24% of their
God.
meager
and I just
income.
did that. I just
Check
did
out
that
the
hand signal, and
manipulations by
everybody could just see
Amazon
that, by the
Hefe
way. I
Jeff
did that.
Bezos, the world's richest
I'm
man,
good with that.
even as
Well,
his
let's
riches
pretend I was
skyrocketed
squeezing
by
lemons or
$120 billion from 2006
pressing
to
peppers or
2018. He paid just 1% in taxes on that huge gain. One year in which his wealth swelled by $18 billion, he even took a $4,000 tax credit from us for the care of his children. The chief fix for these super dodgers is that they can take out loans on the escalating value of their stock, mansions, yachts, etc., without paying taxes on the cash they get. Then they spend the cash value of those assets without having to sell them. Financial voodoo for the privileged few. In response to the revelations in ProPublica's jaw-dropping report, congressional Republicans, Biden administration officials, and the IRS are all promising a thorough investigation and crackdown. Not on the sleazy billionaires, of course, but on ProPublica. This is Jim Hightower saying, yes, some top public officials exclaim that they are outraged.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery
Thanks to my
shopping.
pellets, I got
Taking my
all those
time,
things. They
walking
just-
down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or two, or 3.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hey, sis, missed you this morning. Kim told me you weren't feeling well, so I'm just doing a self-care check.
Oh, thank you, friend.
How you doing?
Girl, listen, my energy was so low because I didn't eat breakfast when I got up, so I had to miss virtual yoga with y'all.
Trust me, I understand.
But I'm doing much better now that I've eaten, so I'm back on track.
Great. In that case, let's get some steps in tonight. I'll come over and we can walk around the lake.
Sounds good. Appreciate you being in my business, too. Now, let me get in yours. Did you check your blood pressure today?
I did that and my squats, okay?
Okay.
High blood pressure is not going to be my friend if I can help it. See you at 6?
Let's get it. See you then.
Now more than
commercial was
ever,
for Jonnie
it's
King.
important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Check in on one another and be a part of a healthy blood pressure movement. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to In the Know with Mo. I'm Mo Bella, your host, and thank you so much for being with us. Okay, Jonnie King is my guest today. The guru of fitness here in Los Angeles, happens to be my personal new fitness trainer. And I actually was thinking about in the break right now, I do want to put out a disclaimer on Jonnie's behalf. My physical appearances never will be reflective of Jonnie's talents. Let's be real clear, right? But later in the show, I'm going to do something shocking, and Jonnie doesn't even know about this, but he will find out in a few minutes later. But Jonnie, I want to pick up where we left off because that's exactly where Moella loves to be, which is real issues, real people, real topics. And so I wanted to pick up on you said something very powerful as you were discussing the impact of your parents' divorce on your childhood, as you defined or, described yourself as a problem child, and then taught us about Landmark, which I had never heard of, it just sounds like it's got my name written all over it about personal development and finding your core. And I wanted to share something very personal in response to your story to prove and affirm what you're saying, that those childhood events or any events, we can happen to us when we're adults, right?
Yeah.
It's everyone has trauma, and we all have different forms of trauma. No one's trauma is any worse or better or more profound than anybody else's because it's all so personal to just each of us. And I just wanted to share something that happened to me to prove your point that it impacts you and it never will ever truly go away. But it's all about how we learn how to heal, right? Yep. That's what I've learned, Jonnie, right?
Absolutely.
And my fellow football players, when I was growing up, when I chose to quit football at the age of 16, because the locker room dichotomy was just too profound and the conflict was too severe for me, they actually would call me a faggot every day between classes for 6 months. And I contemplated taking my life.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share that real quickly to affirm your point that what we say to each other, whether we're 14 or we're 84, right? What we say to each other impacts another human being. And so I wanted to pick up on that so keep going on that. So when did this Landmark program, I love this, that you're sharing this, because to me, that means that was part of your healing.
Yeah, no, totally was. Yeah. I've been in LA for about 12 years now. And, when you first get out here, you're still trying to find yourself. And it's either you make it or you go back home, and I was a little lost at first, trying to find out who I was, still discovering myself. But yeah, that Landmark was definitely a pinnacle moment where I really, dove into my psyche and discovered these layers. You're just peeling back the onion. You're
exactly
all these things that happen to you, all these traumatic events, all these relationships, and you're just trying to figure out how to heal, how to solve. And one of the biggest things with me, I had issues with my father growing up, and I didn't speak to him for 7 years. And during Landmark, one of the biggest things, because, a lot of people have issues with parents, whatever, they're molested, whatever happens to them. But, the biggest thing is forgiveness. When you're forgiving, you're not giving anything to that other person per se, you're giving forward for yourself. That's what
yourself, exactly. That's so powerful.
Yourself, so I called my father up for the first time in 7 years during that seminar. And, I just had a very candid conversation with him and, just told him, I love you. I know you've tried your hardest, everything, growing up, you only did what you knew. And, that's all that you can expect from parents. It's only what they know. You can't expect them to do things that they don't know, however they're raised or whatever. And like Landmark really makes you realize that, everybody is their own person, and you have to just, you can't expect anything. You have to realize that's just how people are. You can't change people. Everybody's on their own path, and so there's definitely some real breakthroughs from doing that seminar. What
a powerful message you just shared with everybody. Really, that forgiveness is not even really about that person. It's really for your own soul. Because the whole time you're not healed or you're not healing or in the process, right? It's only us that's suffering. If you think about it, we're the one holding the rage or the bitterness, right?
Yep. So you're letting go of that.
Yeah, you got to let go of it, and it's so hard. But until you do, I love this, that I want to actually talk about how that now has made you the man you are today. And I'm going to go on a limb because I've never asked you this when we're working out because you're too busy yelling at me and telling me to go 5 more, faster, faster, faster. So I never get to ask you this kind of question. But so my question for you is, now you're engaged to be married. I almost feel like everything you just shared with us was you preparing for this, to be emotionally, mentally, and spiritually available to marry your fiance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, we all think that, our parents could have done better or whatever. And, whenever we have kids, and I think every generation's like this, you always want to be better than your parents. You always want to do what they didn't do for you, or tell you, give you whatever. So we're always trying to be the best parent that we can be. Yeah. So, I think that, the Landmark program, but is along with many, many other programs, different. I was big into Kundalini yoga for a while. That was another huge thing for me. That was an
instrumental part of that for you.
Yeah.
Was it the meditative aspect of it? Was it the kind of the centering of?
It's really like the calmness that it brings you. I mean, meditation is a huge part of it. There's mantras, chanting, different asanas. There's, lots of different things involved in it. But yeah, it's definitely a grounding thing that brings you back to your core, back to yourself. And it helps you with stress and just dealing with these different variables that get thrown at you every day. So yeah, I mean, just kind of going back to what you were saying, like I definitely do think that all this development did give me that confidence to, move forward, take that next step into my life now, and start a family. Ultimately, we're hoping to do that next year.
That alone, if we don't have one more message out of this show, which there will be many more, that is probably the most powerful one we could have ever shared today. You just made me happy that I continue to do In the Know with Mo and bring people like you on, because, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, to me, it's about making sure that whoever I have on, that we leave everybody with one tidbit or one piece of something that might help them have just a little bit more fulfilling journey. And that was the most powerful lesson we could probably have ever shared, that both of us have experienced. So, I think one of the things, Jonnie, is that as we're going into our second break here momentarily, I do want to point out to our listeners and our viewers that, Jonnie did something very, very beautiful here without without fanfare, frankly, and that was that he made himself vulnerable. And I want to point this out because I think making ourselves vulnerable is why we connect with each other in humanity. And that's the foundation upon which to build every relationship, from friendships to business relationships to just colleagues or strangers or familial relationships. So on to the second break we go. Of course, you've got to come back now. We're just getting started. So we'll see you back in just a few minutes. In the Know with Mo, we'll be waiting for you.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box?
That was about the...
Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1913. That was the day the industrial workers of the world led a strike at Studebaker in Detroit. IWW organizers Matilda Rabinowitz, Jack Welch, and others arrived in Detroit to organize. They gave lunchtime speeches outside the auto plant. Their speeches were so popular with Ford workers that managers at the Highland Park plant stopped allowing workers to take their lunches outside and had the organizers arrested. They moved on to try to organize Studebaker, where they had supporters inside. Workers there had complaints similar to those at Ford, namely long hours and endless speed up. At Studebaker, workers were also angry when management changed the way they were paid from weekly to every other week. IWW supporter Dale Schlosser was fired from Studebaker's No. 3 plant as he tried to circulate a petition for a return to weekly paydays. Word spread like wildfire, and 3,500 workers walked off the job in the first auto strike in Detroit. Rabinowitz and Walsh led a 7-mile march of thousands to Studebaker Plant No. 1, and then downtown to Studebaker Plant 5, calling workers out on strike. By the end of the day, nearly 6,000 workers speaking a number of different languages voted for IWW representation and put together a list of grievances. IWW organizers envisioned an industry-wide strike, and 2,000 strikers marched to the Packard plant the next day to call those workers out to join the strike. There, they were met and beaten by police. The strike and organizing drive was quickly crushed. Rabinowitz remarked that workers returning to Studebaker were even more determined to fight. IWW organizer Frank Bond observed the strike was not for a few days or weeks, but maybe 20 or 30 years.
Your host. So good to have all of you with us. My guest, we're laughing because during the break, my guest, Jonnie King, president of King Fitness, my personal trainer here in Los Angeles, trainer to a lot of people that look a lot better than me, but I will get there. But anyway, during the break, Jonnie just somehow dropped the information that he has six-pack abs. And I just called him a piece of you-know-what because I didn't think that was very funny, Jonnie. Damn it.
My nickname is Bruce Lee, remember?
Yeah, somebody called him Bruce Lee. So we were laughing in the break about Jonnie's six-pack abs. But anyway, let's just be clear. I will never have six-pack abs. I'm just, because they're in there somewhere, Jonnie, and it is your job. I am paying you to discover them, Jonnie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of time and commitment, but we'll get there.
Well, great segue. Now we did, we went back to the Boston, a little bit of your youth, and I got to know you a little better and how you became and have been formed as a human. Because the one thing I want to open up this segment by saying is that one of the things I find really beautiful about you is your level of comfort in your skin, and your humility, and you're just gentle. You're a gentle spirit with a very kind streak. And so I wanted people to see that, but I also want people to understand, how do you get to this place of peace and tranquility that you have, right? And so what a segue into fitness, right? Which clearly is a very, very profound passion of yours. I know because you yell at me for an entire hour 3 times a week. And so I know it's a big passion of yours. And so, Jonnie, let's talk about that. So how did you get into the fitness industry? Did you fall into it? Did you kind of like, was it a tangential hobby, and then all of a sudden you realized this is what I really want to do the bulk of my time? Because we all know you're a real famous DJ, but that's nighttime, right? So this is your daytime gig. How did this happen?
I think it was a multitude of different things, but I've been playing sports my whole life, growing up as a kid, soccer, basketball, but I played everything. I'm just like a really all around athlete. I can play baseball, football, whatever, any sport. Really grew up loving them. And I don't really know the start of it, but honestly, I think that it might kind of be, you were talking about how, you were kind of picked on as a kid in high school or whatever. See, I mean, I was always like kind of a popular kid, always had a lot of friends, but I was very skinny. And, when you're growing up and skinny, you kind of get pushed around, especially in sports, whatever. Sometimes you get picked on for being skinny. So I think it was my sophomore year where I started actually working out, like hitting weights. And then I started actually to put on some size and like muscle and stuff, and I think that kind of gave me some confidence, growing up as a teenager. And, then, my father and mother also have always really been into fitness. My father's always been a really buff guy, like just work, we've always had a gym in our house, always be going to the gym, whatever.
Is he single and gay?
No, he's not.
Just kidding, Jonnie.
He's a breeder. My dad was always, in shape. And then my mother, I think it was maybe freshman year of college, she really started to get into fitness, and she
you saw it. You just saw it.
Yeah, but she actually started going into different fitness competitions, and she won like all these trophies, and yeah. So she got really, really serious, and she had a personal trainer, this guy Terry, back in Tewksbury, Massachusetts, which was right next to Andover. And I know you like the A. So,
I do, because you're gonna park your car.
Exactly. Yep. So I was looking for a summer job. Actually, I think it was my first summer after freshman year of college, and like I said, I was always in sports and whatever. So my mother, she was like, "Well, why don't you come to this gym, work out with me?" And she introduced me to her trainer. And then her trainer's like, "Why don't you become a trainer?" And I'm like, yeah, because I started to work out a lot, and when I was in college, I joined a fraternity, and my fraternity was all these huge buff dudes that were just like, and I'm just trying to hit the weight room, keep up with them. So it just kind of makes sense to me, because I was always skinny, but I was always trying to like put on muscle, keep up with jocks in high school, keep up with my fraternity, ZBT, give a shout out to them, Hofstra University.
To the bros.
So then I started training under this master trainer, this guy Terry from Tewksbury.
Oh, wow.
And
Terry from Tewksbury.
Yeah. So took this training program and got certified through him, and then just kind of developed a whole career from that, and just a ton of clients.
Also for you, if I could be so bold, in the little bit of time I've gotten to know you, it's a lifestyle for you.
Oh, yeah,
it's not just let me go do the bands, let me go do the By the way, just to our viewers and listeners, Jonnie put me in an inversion machine this week, and I'm just feel very fortunate to still be here with you, because I thought I was going to die, but it was a relief to my back pain, so I was very grateful. But anyway, Jonnie, it's a lifestyle for you. You're also vegan. So what motivates you? What is your what's the driving motivation for you to lead this holistic, healthy, kind of wellness oriented lifestyle? What is that?
I mean, it's not just one thing. It's like you said, it's a lifestyle. I mean, it's many things that go into it, just like, anything in life, I know it's never just, life isn't binary, it's very complicated and intricate. So, I mean, one of the main things why, I mean, obviously your health is one of the biggest things, you look great, you feel great, but also there's the environmental part of it as well, being vegan. One of the main reasons behind it is because of the environment and how animals are treated, how they're raised. Animals are raised just to be used as meat, just to be slaughtered. That's not how, we evolved. We've started eating meat. Actually, I don't know if you knew this, but it happened during the Ice Age. We were gatherers, and we would be eating plants. Indian tribes, all this stuff, when life kind of first started off. But during the Ice Age, we had to go up on mountains and hills, and that you don't really grow fruits, vegetables. There's not a lot of greenery up, in those high altitudes, and that's when things froze over. But there was a lot of wildlife and stuff that went up towards the hills, and that's when we didn't have a lot to eat. So then we turned to slaughtering animals, killing them. But they use them for everything, for fabrics and warmth and
from the hide to
exactly, yeah. So they didn't just use them for these certain things, but just over the years, you got addicted to it. You became like vampires almost. You're addicted to blood. So once you eat meat, it's like you just have this addiction craving. And me stopping meat was actually the hardest thing ever in my life. I mean, I was just I was the guy that would eat like 5 things of meat a day. I would just be like, I was a meat guy. So that was very, very hard to stop eating meat. But yeah, once I started reading into it and watching these documentaries, all this stuff, you just realize like just how horrible it is for the planet, for the environment, just for people in general, your mentality, what that does to you. It almost it almost changes like your brain chemistry, the way that you're looking to like devour animals. It's more of like a killer instinct sort of thing. You don't even realize it. I'm not saying meat eaters
for you it was everything. I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry, but for you it sounds like it's everything from physical health to mental health, environmental health, spiritual health, probably too, emotional health. So it's the whole thing for you, right? And I wanted to talk about this a little bit, and thank you for sharing all that, because I think it's nice to hear different perspectives, right? And to hear different lifestyles and the way different each of us is so uniquely as individuals address all of that on our journey, right? So I'm going to shock you a little bit here, and I thought about this just a little while ago. We're going to have 60 seconds in the last minute to this last break. I'm actually going to announce that I started with you just 2 weeks ago, and that I am at 36% body fat. Jonnie is less than 4%.
I'm 4. I actually measured myself today. 4%. 4.1.
4.1. I'm 36.1, and I wasn't planning to do this, but the reason I think it's important for me to do this on my show is because of accountability. And I want you to come back, right, in 3 or 4 months, maybe 5. Give me a little time. But I want you to come back later in the year, Jonnie, so that we hold me accountable. Because I think it's not just about my appearance. I don't care whether somebody doesn't like my belly. For me, it's about being able to say I'm healthier. I feel better, right? So when we come back after the break, we're going to keep going on this topic of wellness and fitness and health. And we will keep learning from Jonnie King, president of King Fitness here in Los Angeles.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe."
Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. We show up differently, worship differently, and have found new ways to express our love and support to family and friends. But now there are vaccines, and they are the first step that lets us get back into the things we miss most, like spreading the word without spreading concern, girls tripping instead of solo sipping, brunching instead of late night munching, and talking smack with a side of mac and cheese. It's okay to have questions about COVID-19 vaccines.
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Is it safe?
Can I trust it?
What about pre-existing conditions?
Now get the facts. Visit GetVaccineAnswers.org so you can make an informed decision when COVID-19 vaccines are available.
Welcome to Code WAC, your podcast on America's broken healthcare system and how Medicare for All could help. I'm your host, Brenda Gazar. What aggravates racial inequities in America's healthcare system? To find out, we spoke to Dr. Thomas Rice, a health economist and a distinguished professor in UCLA's Department of Health Policy and Management.
There's so many different ways to measure the performance of health insurance systems, like cost, and that's important for sure, but so is health equity. The U.S. has dramatic inequities in infant mortality rates, depending on race, for example. How might your work inform or promote health policies that center around racial equity?
Well, Brenda, as you know, there are severe racial inequities in health outcomes in the United States, but there are many factors causing this. And I would say that the main ones are a much broader set of societal related factors that go beyond the healthcare system. But the healthcare system is absolutely a culprit here. And I think I'll just focus on one thing that aggravates the problem of racial inequities in the U.S. and that is unique in the U.S. And that's our reliance on making price a barrier for people receiving care. In the U.S., even if you have insurance and about a tenth of the population doesn't, you still face really large cost barriers. And in fact, half of Americans say each year that cost is a barrier and keeping them from getting services that they would like to be getting. Biggest barrier, I think, is deductibles. Deductibles are huge in the U.S., much higher than in other countries.
Get the full Code WAC story on ProgressiveVoices.com and on the PV app. Catch all our episodes by subscribing to Code WAC wherever you find your podcasts. This podcast is powered by Heal California, a nonprofit that uplifts the voices of those fighting for healthcare reform around the country. Until next time, stay healthy.
Hi, welcome back to In the Know with Mo. I'm getting really bad about bringing you all back after break, aren't I? I don't know how to do it anymore. I'm like, hi. Welcome back to In the Know with Mo. I'm Mo Vela, your host. My guest this week is my personal fitness trainer out here in Los Angeles, trainer to a lot more important people than me, Jonnie King. But one day, you know what? Jonnie will be able to say, I trained Mo. That's my goal, Jonnie King. That's my goal, Jonnie King. So, Jonnie, we were talking a little bit about this holistic approach to health, wellness, and fitness. I announced my body fat percentage because I wanted to be held accountable. 4 or 5, 6 months from now, we'll have Jonnie back and we will have him measure my body fat because I think part of leading a healthier lifestyle is accountability. So let's talk about accountability, Jonnie. How do you deal with that with your clients and all these years of leadership in the fitness industry? Do you find that a real kind of Boston tough guy, approach is what keeps people accountable, or do you get a lot more bees attracted to honey, or is it somewhere in between?
And that's actually a saying that my fiance says. You'll attract a lot more bees with honey.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
obviously, I'm going to like
Yeah,
Sharon.
yeah. She always has to remind me of that because I am kind of that counter approach sometimes. I'm very direct, and I think Umberto told you that. And you don't really see that so much because it's kind of like a different relationship. But I am very direct with people a lot of times. But it's just, that my outlook on things is I just like to cut the bullshit. I like to just get straight to the point, and But
well, that's very Boston. Let's be honest.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
pretty Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, and I don't think that we have to fluff things in life a lot of times. I think it just kind of takes up time. But obviously, you want to put a smile on it, and like you said, you attract more bees with honey. So that's something that I definitely try to do a lot more times. Be a lot kinder and gentler with things. But as far as accountability, it's kind of different with every client. I deal with.
That's a good point.
Yeah, some people there's some people that if I don't text them the night before, they have that excuse of like, oh, I didn't know if we were on, or they forget or whatever. So a lot of clients will have to text them at night and remind them, or text them that morning, I'm on my way, whatever, just because I know how they are. You're actually one of the easier ones, to believe it or not. You hold yourself accountable a lot with it. When we're doing certain things, different exercise, whatever, like, when me and you are doing our jump rope, you're like, I'll do 25. I'm like, we'll do 35. It's so, helping to push people is, one of the, main aspects of being a good trainer, always.
Just to be clear, Johnny, I do 50 jump
You
ropes.
do 50 now. Yeah. Mo's going to be a
started at
professional jump
25,
rope. You
and
did?
I'm up to 50. Okay.
Start at 20, and now you're at 50. Yep. So yeah, it's always, setting new goals, pushing the limit on what you can do.
Well, I asked that question because I think a lot of people think in fitness and stuff that I played sports, you played sports, right? My producer, Mark Grimaldi, I think played sports, or at least he's a big sports fan, as you guys were discussing baseball before we went live. And we've all seen those coaches, right? That they're like in your face and faster, whatever. And so I asked that because I think a lot of us, I thought your answer was spectacular because you pointed out what I think is so vital about everything in life, to remember that each person is an individual, right? And there's a psychology to each one of us. And the uniqueness of that interaction between just you and that person, right? And to me, I have to say, you don't need me to toot your horn, but I have to tell you, you have been absolutely nothing less than absolutely gracious. You know exactly how to push me without making me not want to come back. That's a sign of a great trainer, in my opinion, is to know where's this guy's line, right? Because, if I get pushed too far, I'm the kind that will just quit. And quitting's not an option, right? So you've just been really fantastic about recognizing that balance. And I think that's a really important message here about each of us as our own trainers. To find that balance within each of us, right?
Absolutely.
Holding ourselves accountable, but also pushing enough to keep, like you said, setting new goals, trying to meet new things. So, Johnny, I want to also quickly talk about your other endeavors. When did you start? Because I love the fact that we're all so unique and diverse. And I love that you're also a very, very highly acclaimed DJ. Where the hell did that start, and how'd you get into that?
I've always been like the music guy growing up. I've seen everybody in concerts. I actually have an album with all my ticket stubs from all my concerts I've been to, since like high school.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was always that guy making playlists for our groups of friends at parties, whatever, making cassettes, CDs, that whole thing. Then when I moved up to Los Angeles, I got into the club scene, and then started going to these different like underground deep house type parties, and that's when I really like fell in love with music a whole new way. And the booker who books all of Insomniac events like EDC, like Beyond Wonderland, all that stuff. His name's Carlos Coriel. He actually was selling a pair of CDJs, which are DJ decks. And he asked me, do you know anybody that wants to buy these? And I was like, I was kind of bored. I was in between jobs, I think, at the time. He's like, yeah, you know what? I'll buy them off you. So I was like, I'll mess around with them. So I ended up buying the decks off them and just teaching myself, going on YouTube, how to DJ, and just really spiraled out through there and started playing parties and, started playing different festivals and whatnot, and just developed this whole career and, just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, it's funny how like just that one little moment, and
that is spelled M-O-E.
Oh, M-O-E. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. No, yeah. It's, you could call it luck, which is really where opportunity meets preparation, you know, and that's, I was kind of like preparing for that next step in my life. And this opportunity came to me where you want to try this out. You want to buy these decks.
And what's the lesson that I want to make sure everyone that's watching or listening learns from that? I've said it many times on the show. I've said it many times in my life. Be open, nimble, and flexible to what the universe puts on your path.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because had you just said, I'm not doing anything but fitness training, you would have never then had this incredibly rewarding experience of being a DJ, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Totally. Yeah.
So I also want to get to the sports cards, because this, of course, is like not what, this is not a mainstream hobby or business, right, for all of us, right? So it is for a lot of people. I'm just saying it's not like being a teacher or or a nurse. I'm saying, so how'd you get into that? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people watching or listening who are like, wow, how do you start in that? Did you start as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of jack of all trades. I do a million different things, as you've been saying. But yeah, I was collecting cards as a kid, in the 90s, like that was the thing, everybody was doing it. We all had our binders, our cards, and, Michael Jordan. And I was kind of like the whole like era in the 90s where the industry exploded. And then, over time, people kind of forgot about it. They made too many cards. Everything was over mass produced, and the interest just kind of died out. But over the pandemic, everybody was out of work. They were at home and bored, pretty much, and everybody's getting all the stimulus checks and whatnot. So
did you see the industry kind of take a big?
Because I wasn't involved before the pandemic. I got into it in February, March. Yeah. And I was out of work. I couldn't. All my personal training clients, had to stop that. Wasn't DJing anymore, so it's like, what the hell am I going to do for money? I had to really I just started selling stuff all around my house, and going to my garage, clean out my garage, and all stuff. I'm like, shit, I got to do something for money, So I ended up going to my garage, finding a box of cards. I knew I had cards in there. I just never really knew what was in there. Started listing them on eBay, because I'm just selling everything at this point. And then the hobby just started to explode. Everybody started doing what I was doing, because everybody's out of work.
Wow.
And then I just fell in love with it all over again.
That's
and,
amazing.
Started buying all these cards, building this business, and just really.
We're to my least favorite part of the show, which means we have to say goodbye and bring this incredible conversation to an end. But Jonnie, you did everything I was hoping and you would do, which is to be vulnerable, be real, and share some really valuable life lessons from your journey. And we're going to have you back not only to count my body fat, right, but we're going to have you back to keep talking about these lessons that you've learned and you're so willing to share with all of us. And so thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you were here with me today. You will always be loved and have a home here in the Know with Mo.
Thank you, Mo. I appreciate it. It was great.
And don't yell at me at my fitness class tomorrow.
Oh, I will.